Okay, first ever trade deadline in PWHL done and dusted in the books. And given how this obviously is the inaugural season for the PWHL and there's only 6 teams, you wouldn't expect there to be that many moves made across the league. In fact, I'm quite surprised we had any at all, to be honest. But we did get some action. We did get some moves. And there are a lot of interesting takeaways to be had from this trade deadline. So I thought we'll go through them all. Because we've done it on Tier Report for the HL, so we'll do it here for the PWHL as well. It's a nice little Birds edition of Purple Rain. So, yeah. So, the trade deadline was Monday, March 19th. So, the day after the PWHL takeover concluded in Pittsburgh. And then the next day after that, the 20th, was going to be the roster freeze. And I think this is what we need to see in the NHL. The roster freeze basically means that after that, you cannot make any more moves. You can't move players from other teams. So, no more trades. I'd like to see that done in the NHL. That could be really good. Yeah, so there you go. So, a lot of trades happened. Ottawa, very busy. In fact, I'm going to go through all of them in detail first, and I'm going to go over my takeaways at the end. So, let's go through all the big blockbuster moves that happened on trade deadline day 2024. Okay, so now you'll be pleased to hear there were none involving our Minnesota, so you'll be pleased to hear that. I wasn't really expecting to see any big moves from Minnesota, given how well we are in the standings. We're still on pace to at least get second place. Could still charge for first. That's all in our own hands. Although, given how Toronto's being, it could still happen. You know, they could maybe still slip up, but we'll see. But you know what? I think Montreal is probably now going to be left for dust. I think it's now probably going to be either us or Toronto that's going to get first place. See how quickly that changes. See how quickly that changes. At the start of the year, we think it's going to be between us and Montreal. Well, now I think it's going to be between us and Toronto. So, see how quickly that changes. See how quickly that all changes. But yeah. So, yeah, there weren't that many trades to really report on. But of what was, a lot of them involved Ottawa. Who obviously, you know, they have been up and down, you know, throughout the season. Obviously, at one point they were kind of at the bottom, really struggling to make a mark, and I did think, well, are they gonna be struggling to even make it? You know, are they gonna be ones that maybe finish last this year? But that has kind of all changed since then. I mean, Ottawa has now actually got themselves back into position. They are contending. And they really are challenging Boston for that last spot. Remember I said I thought it could be Boston, New York fighting out the last spot? Well, now it kind of looks like it might be Ottawa fighting for that last spot with Boston. Who knows? Who knows? But yeah, but Ottawa were very, very busy during that trade deadline. Very, 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 very busy. So yeah, and we're good. Very busy indeed. So let's go through it. So we have, I think there's only 2 trades that are on the PWHL site, so they're the only ones I'm gonna go through. I'm honest, I actually didn't really pay attention to the trade deadline because I wasn't really sure if we were gonna get any big moves, but we did. So there's only really 2 to report on the PWHL website. So those are 2 I'm going to talk about. If there's any more that I've missed out on, then do let me know in the comments below or by the Purple Rain email, which is probably in the episode description. Do let me know. But these are the only 2 that I have got aware of because obviously they've been mentioned on the PWHL website. Right, and we'll also go through the roster updates from the Freeze as well. So let's do these 2 trades first, then we'll go through the Freeze. So we had Ottawa acquiring Teresa Barzola from Montreal for Amanda Boulier. So let me go through the trade. So Ottawa received Teresa Barzola, and Montreal received Amanda Boulier. So these are the details of the trade that's been made with Ottawa and Montreal. So the trade sees Ottawa acquire forward Teresa Barzola from Montreal in exchange for defence Amanda Boulier. The trade being approved by the leagues ahead of the league's deadline. Barzola was selected by Montreal in the 7th round of this year's draft and signed a 2-year contract with the team in 17 games with Montreal. Barzola tied for 4th in team scoring with 10 points, including 2 goals and 8 assists. She will obviously represent Czechia at the 2024 IHF Women's World Championships, which will be the 7th top division appearance for the 23 bronze medalist and 22 Olympian. Boulier was selected by Ottawa in the 13th round of this year's draft and signed a 1-year deal with the team. She ranked 3rd in scoring among Ottawa's defenders with 6 points, including 1 goal and 5 assists in 17 games. Over the course of 6 PHF seasons, Boulier ranked 10th in all-time scoring with 67 points in 94 career games, and was a 2-time Isabel Cup champion, sharing a 2022 title with Barzola as a member of the Boston Pride. So that's that trade. The other big trade that I've got to talk to you about is also from Ottawa. Let me find it. So yeah, so Ottawa being very, very busy at the trade deadline. So this is the only other trade I've got to really recap for you. And that is Boston and Ottawa. So let's go for it. So Boston acquires Lexi Adazila, rights to Catherine Loregan from Ottawa for Shannon D'Arcangelo. So here's the trade details. So Ottawa receives Shannon D'Arcangelo, and Boston receives Lexi Adazija and the rights to Catherine Loregan. So here's details of the trade that has been made between Boston and Ottawa. The trade team Boston acquires forward Lexi Adazija and the rights to forward Catherine Loregan from Ottawa in exchange for forward Shannon D'Arcangelo. The deal was approved ahead of the trade deadline. Adazila was selected by Ottawa in the 11th round of this year's draft and signed a 1-year deal with the team. She began her first professional season with a 5-game point streak and has totaled 8 points, including 5 goals and 3 assists in 17 games. Adazila graduated from Winnipeg University, where she spent 5 seasons as a member of the Bobcats, serving as co-captain during the 22-23 campaign. Lorian was selected by Ottawa in the 14th round of this year's draft, but did not sign with the team. He is a two-time Pani Kazmaier Memorial Award finalist, recognised during the 2017-18 season with Boston College and 2020-21 with Clarkson University. She spent the 22-23 season as a member of the PWHL Connecticut Whale, where she recorded 19 points in 23 games. D'Angelo was selected by Boston in the 12th round of this year's draft and did sign a one-year deal with the team. He's recorded 1 assist in 17 games this season. Prior to the PHL, D'Angelo played 8 pro seasons, including 3 as captain of the PHL's Toronto 6. She had her most productive offensive campaign in 22-23 with 25 points in 24 games and led the team to a 2023 Isabel Cup championship. So that's that trade there. So before I get to the roster freeze, I just want to do a quick thoughts on the whole trade deadline. For me, the big takeaways are Ottawa. Ottawa is clearly has not been having a great year. They've been up and down. They've been on borderline or bottom. They really have struggled in bonus hockey. If you take Ottawa to extra time, you're going to get the win over Ottawa. They have struggled to go past overtime and shootout. And yet they've had the most overtime and shootout games. So they're picking up the points, Ottawa, which is good. If you go to overtime shootout, because you do pick up points. But they're just not finding a way to steal the deal in either overtime or the shootout. Yeah. So I felt if any team was going to be active during the trade deadline this year, it was going to be Ottawa. Because Ottawa kind of feels like it should have an opportunity to make the playoffs. But they haven't been doing as well as they should have been. Yeah, so that's the big takeaway. Montreal and Boston, interested to see the recipients of those trades. But also, say 16s, it's got to be, you don't know where to go. I'm not surprised that Minnesota or Toronto stayed quiet in this trade deadline, given how they are the two teams that are most likely to be numbers 1 and 2. God knows where they're going to position. And they've had really great campaigns, so why do you need to get involved in the trade deadline if you're having a great campaign? I'm surprised that New York stayed silent. New York is really struggling. New York have now found themselves from being a potential playoff team to bottom of the pile. So I'm surprised that, given how every game in the PWHL is competitive, even if you get mathematically into for the playoffs, every game is competitive. It's not like the NHL, where you've been mapping it. Oh never mind. This is tank. Not that. None of that. None of that in the PWHL. Every game in the PWHL matters. So you'd think that New York might have a way to try and bolster things a little bit, but I was surprised by that. So I was quite surprised that New York didn't really make a big splash in the trade deadline when they, like Ottawa, had that kind of urgency that they need to. Okay, so that was the big the big main takeaways there. So that was really yeah, it was interesting how this trade was going to go, because obviously there's only 6 teams. Not every team feels like they need to make a trade, as we've seen. Yeah, so interesting to see how it all panned out. But Ottawa really, really, really was a big takeaway, because they clearly realised that something needs to change, and they made that change. So the trade happened on March 19. Then 24 hours later, we had what was called the roster freeze. So which basically means that after this roster freeze, teams cannot move players around on the roster, so you can't get any more deals. So that's it, probably until the off season. So we go through all the roster updates following Tuesday's roster freeze. So we go. So let's go for it. We're going to do it team by team. So Boston has signed forwards Kelly Babstock and Catherine Longren to reserve player contracts, and Nicole Costa to a 10-day standard player agreement. Babstock joins the team after spending part of the 23-24 season playing in the SWHL A for Lee's team Lugano. She attended training camp with PWHL New York as a free agent and ranks 4th in all-time PHF points with 96 in 112 games. Logan was acquired from Ottawa at the trade line, which we talked about. She was selected in the 14th round of this year's draft by Ottawa, but didn't sign with the team. Costa appeared in 3 of the team's first 7 games before being placed on the reserve player list. Montreal signed forwards Leanne Perrault and Brooke Stacey to reserve player contracts. Perrault joins the team after competing in the SDHL with Florida HC. Graduate of Massachusetts University, attended training camp with Ottawa as a free agent and played 2 scrimmages during the league's pre-season evaluation camp in Utica back just before Christmas. Stacey attended Montreal's initial training camp and spent the 22-23 season as a member of the PHL's Montreal Force, where she scored 9 points in 24 games. Montreal has also placed forward and Sophie Ballatz on long-term injured reserve. Ottawa, of course, had that busy trade deadline. Line side forwards Melina Schneider and Audrey Ambly to reserve player contracts. Schneider returns to the team after competing in the SDHL with Brinas IF. The second-year pro attended Ottawa's training camp and competed in 2 scrimmages during the league's pre-season evaluation camp in Utica before Christmas. She was originally on the team's reserve player list until the end of December. But that was selected by the team in the 15th round of the draft this year. She was previously unable to compete due to injury in a corresponding move. Netmire Samantha Ridgewell has been released from the team's reserve player list. Following the roster freeze, PHL team rosters include 23 active players who have been signed to standard player agreements, plus a maximum of 3 reserve player contracts. Players listed on a team's long-term injury reserve do not count towards either total. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Yes, no mention obviously of Toronto, Minnesota, and New York, who of course were all silent during this year's trade deadline. So obviously Toronto, Minnesota, understandable, given how they're the top 2 teams, don't need to make moves. New York, however, I think it'll be interesting to see if New York not making splash in the trade line. I'll be interested to see if that bites them in the ass. Will not be surprised if it does. Yeah, so obviously that just mentioned obviously the teams that bored of the trade deadline. So really need to go for that at all. Before I move on, as well to see what happened obviously with the roster freeze. That's something I've not heard before in hockey. Add that to the list of innovative things that the PHI is doing right that other leagues are not. NHL intent. Yeah, so interesting there. Yeah, so that I think pretty much rounds up. Yeah, that does round up everything that's happened in the first ever trade deadline and roster freeze for the PWHL. Interesting to see how not all teams were inactive. Weren't active, I should say. Sorry, not inactive, because obviously, interesting to see how not all teams actually got involved, but obviously with Toronto and Minnesota, like Pete's saying, top of the league right now. You don't even need to make that many splashes. New York on the hand. Yeah, interesting. There you go. So that also includes everything that happened in the trade deadline for the PWHL.